Cosmo Dreams is a multi-channel project. Besides traditional art, like paintings and sculptures, there is also a digital component, an augmented reality application, a virtual museum, and an interactive wall. The project was 3 years in the making. The paintings were perhaps the easiest part, but the virtual museum required much time and effort. The idea was to create an immersive and engaging experience. For instance, the interactive wall was made for the kids. They can spin the planets and play with them. Digital enthusiasts will enjoy the video, and traditional art lovers will look at the paintings. You have already mentioned your target audience. Can you elaborate on that? Who did you have in mind? Young people, kids, everyone? Art connoisseurs? Should they come prepared, or more like clean slate? They should come with an open mind, and we really wanted to engage as many people as possible. I hope that the older generation will feel nostalgic and recall their pride for the Russian space program. The kids will have fun playing with the application and spinning the planets. Young people will hopefully enjoy everything at once, because contemporary youth is very versatile. As for me, I put much effort into the virtual museum, because here we see 30 paintings, but the project comprises more than 100, and since there are no space limits in the virtual museum, you can view them all. So, the main subject is outer space, or Soviet Union, or maybe Soviet Union in space. What's the core idea? Of course, there are my fantasies about space. This is not a science art project. I did no research. This is just my imagination, my thoughts and impressions, childhood dreams of space. You know, our space program was really successful in the 1960s. We were the first nation in space. But then, for a variety of reasons, there was a kind of gap. So I simply imagined what it would be like if the development were not interrupted. If we progressed further, colonized the moon, and built this beautiful museum there to represent the Earthlings' ideas of space and tell the alien visitors about our cultures. You've mentioned the nostalgic aspect, and I see it too. Various Soviet artifacts, monuments, things like that. How important is this part of the concept? Should it really evoke nostalgia? Perhaps for the younger generation, these are nothing but abstractions that one cannot relate to. Well, I would say that it is also something of a brand. Then again, I was born in the 80s, and I still recall the May Day parades. So I really wanted to express my pride for the country and its achievements and remind the younger generation about them. Apart from the conceptual side, there is also the technical one. How long did you work on this project? I mean both creatively and in terms of technology. And subsequently, my second question. Why did you choose Erarta for this exhibition? Because it's a place for all things cutting-edge and contemporary, or because it just suited your requirements? As I already said, the project took a long time to complete. I think this is my longest project so far, 3 years from the initial idea and studies. The digital part was the most labor-consuming, because paintings are created by the artist. You only need a carpenter to make a canvas stretcher, but the application and the video required 2 different expert teams. One was working on the application, and the other, a large team of 3D designers, was rendering every detail. All these sculptures were modeled in 3D, 10 of them. And then there is also the website you can visit and see it all, rotate every sculpture. The application allows you to place any sculpture in your home or in the city environment, make it tiny or 100 stories tall. I wanted to create much variety, and the most difficult part was the virtual museum, because we truly took the complex path and visualized its architecture. It really exists in 3D, floor plan, rooms and all. Because for a 3D tour, there must be a realistic environment one can explore using the computer mouse or joystick. So, from the initial inspiration by Gigas and Gaudi's creations, from planning the architecture of each room in detail, it took a whole year of daily work. I understand that it's a truly immersive environment. In what ways do you think this synergy of new technologies and traditional art is beneficial, especially now, during the pandemic? And on the contrary, does it pose any threats? Perhaps digitalization simplifies art. Many argue that we are going back to pictograms, something that existed in prehistoric times. Like cave art. Exactly. Our smartphones are a backlash to cave art. So, what are the pros and cons of this synergy of traditional and virtual art? And are there any dangers? Well, of course, everything has its pros and cons. The most obvious advantage is accessibility. We didn't know how long the lockdown would last, and if it weren't lifted, we would have organized a virtual opening and invite people to the virtual museum. The lockdown is only partially lifted, though. Yes, that's true. But on the other hand, anyone from anywhere in the world can visit our museum, and that's a plus. Another good point is that the augmented reality function works equally well for the pictures in the catalogue and on the website. I, as a classical painter, though still view this only as a tool that helps reach out to a wider audience. I think that the biggest weakness of the new generation is that they find it boring to simply look at pictures. Say, in the Middle Ages, people came to church, looked at the murals, and were completely carried away, whereas now the viewer constantly needs to be entertained. So we play along and provide this entertainment. The big problem is that people lose the ability to think. They want to be spoon-fed. That's just my opinion, though. You mean even the great masterpieces, like at the Hermitage? Haven't you noticed? The new trend is to animate them. People create augmented reality for various Baroque and Renaissance masterpieces. There is probably not a single museum left that wouldn't offer a virtual tour. Naturally, art takes cues from technology in order to adjust to keep people interested. But I still hope that technology will not substitute art. Why? Because you still need a point of departure. You cannot build anything without a foundation. Only true art allows you to step further and turn it into something bigger. If you have nothing, how can you make a show out of it?